Okay guys, have your attention. This is good, I like this. Watch, and if you want to see me or not. Thank you for coming, thank you for giving up your time. We are recording this for those who can't make it, and for those, I shouldn't speak, Helen, all those in Dublin on a field trip, third year. But we're very privileged today, and I think this is an incredible opportunity for us, not only at Coventry University, but as SEM, to have the opportunity again to work closely with the ECB ICC. I'll let Ali tell you what the sort of organisation is and everything like that. But we did this 4 years ago for the Champions Trophy, which this is the very Champions Trophy. That was won 4 years ago, I believe, by India. Beat England, just makes change, I know. But we had a lot smaller role. But I think what we did, what your predecessors did, was very successful. They were very professional. And because of that, we've been asked back by the ECB to have a bigger role, not only in the Champions Trophy, but also this year we've got the Women's ICC Women's World Cup taking place. So I don't want to speak, and I know I talk too much, I go on, but I don't talk about it. All I want to say is, want to welcome Ali Jarvis, good role, he's head of volunteering, and I'm going to give you full name because I'm going to just read this off, I'm terrible. We've got Claire Dale, who's head of HR for ECB Global Events, and Kate Lister, who's volunteer executive for the ECB. So we've got some high-brow, powerful people here. So if you want to talk about corruption in cricket, come talk to these guys all about it. But hopefully what we're going to do today is give you an understanding of what we want your role to be. If you still want to be involved, we hope you all will. And also maybe giving you a bit of practical experience of what we expect you to do on the days of these training. And then hopefully we'll have some photo opportunities, get you all involved, get you come and have photos with the trophies. Don't pinch them or anything, please, we'll be in trouble. And then we'll start working out rotas and when we want you to work and things like that, and hopefully you still do want to work for us. So I'll hand over straight away, after 5 minutes, to Ali. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thanks Ian. Good afternoon everyone. What we want to do is just to give you a bit of information ahead of the Cricketers interviews that we're conducting starting this weekend as well. So what are we going to run through throughout the course of the session today? I'm going to give you a bit of background about the tournament, aware some people might not be familiar with cricket, and that's absolutely fine. You don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of cricket to do this role. Understanding your role as facilitator on the day, what are you going to do? What are the elements from the candidates do you want to pick out and take note? What evidence are you going to provide so it gives Katie and I a real informed decision so we can recruit the best volunteers to support the Champions Trophy and the Women's World Cup that we've got here. The best way to learn is to have a go, and we're going to let you have a go as well, give you some of the process that the candidates will do when they come to an interview with us. Certainly the Cricketers, as they're known, the volunteers we called Cricketers across both tournaments, are going to be fundamental to support the ICC Champions Trophy and Women's World Cup. They're the ones and individuals that can really enhance that spectator experience. They're not there to replace paid roles, they're there to really enhance that spectator on their day out at the cricket, i.e. when they come into the station and into the city, and we know from global tournaments that people that not usually come into that city do arrive in that city. For example, 80% of the fans that came to the last Champions Trophy have never been to that venue before. So the role of the Cricketers is really fundamental and really vital to enhance that customer journey, customer experience. So it's making sure that we as facilitators and recruit, we get the right people, we get the best people. One of the tournaments Ian alluded to is the Champions Trophy. Just going to show you a short video. A bit of luck. Okay. So the Champions Trophy is the best 8 men's teams. So many of you might have seen it on Facebook, and we'll give you a copy of these slides, electronic, so you can see as well. So the best 8 teams, so South Africa right the way through to England, India, Bangladesh as well. So it's a real fun, exciting one-day competition tournament. Followed by the Women's World Cup. I'm not too sure, has anyone seen any of the imagery on the screen? Yep, that's good. Followed straight away by the Women's World Cup. Again, the top 8 nations in the world to compete for this. Anyone know who the current holders are? No, of the Women's World Cup. Australia, well done. The women are holders of the T20. So I'll give you half a point for that. So well done, young man. So what is the Cricketers programme? What is the Volunteers programme? It's going to be the largest volunteer workforce in cricket. We need 1,500 individuals to support across both tournaments. They're going to support 6 different areas. Accreditation, so everyone from players to volunteers to staff, media, has to have an accreditation. And in the region of, I think 22,000 accreditation passes are going to be produced. There's quite a lot of data to capture and process, so volunteers will support that area. Hospitality, welcoming guests and direct them to their hospitality suites. Event activation is around very much engaging with the spectators, distribution of freebies that the sponsors have wished to engage with, and also some of the on-field activations, i.e. quick cricket, that they wish to deliver during the interval. Media speaks for itself. Transportation, so we've got a VIP car service that transports members, dignitaries and some of the players and teams around, so volunteers will support in that area. And the biggest area is around spectator services. And that's where we're going to need the majority of our cricketers. We've had nearly 2,500 applications for those 1,500 roles. So we've got quite a tricky task, and we, collectively I say we, have got a tricky task, and our onerous task of making quite a few people unsuccessful and unhappy. But don't worry about that, that's our job, Katie's and Claire's and my job to respond to them, and we'll go share, Claire will share with you what kind of evidence we want to can help us to give feedback back to those individuals. So for the Champs Trophy, we had 2,200 individuals wanting to support the tournament. We need 1,000. For the Women's World Cup, 1,500 applied, we need 500. So we've got the opportunity to gain the best from the best around the country. Certainly that's a bit of background around it, and certainly on the day we've invited, across the month that we're interviewing, we've invited best part of sort of 2,000 individuals to come for an interview. Each individual will come to an hour's time slot, but we're going to bring a number of people together at a time. So around 50 to 60 is the maximum that we'll have in one group. And then we're going to divide them up. Some will do round table exercises, and some will do another exercise looking at the skills and attributes that we want from that actual volunteer to support that functional area. Won't go into the detail of the activity, I'll leave that to Claire, but it is good fun. And we start our roadshow of interviews this weekend in Cardiff, so I hope some of you will be able to join us then. If not, we'll see you very much along the journey in Leicester, Derby, Bristol, Taunton and in London as well. So quite a good geographical spread. So and I'll say now, it'll be good fun. You'll be fed, which I know will please many of you, and if you do support, you get a freebie, you get a polo shirt as well. So it's quite a nice, I know students love stash and good food, and that's something that I've made sure that you will be provided with as well. So just going to ask Claire to come up and to take you through a little bit more of the process that we're going to ask you guys to do on the day of the volunteer interviews.
Thank you. Thanks, Ali. It's a bit tricky with a pillar in the middle and the video. I sort of don't quite know where to put myself, but hopefully you can all hear. I don't speak as loud as Ian, but shout if you miss something. What I want to talk about then, as following up from what Ali said, is what your role really is going to be on the day. You are assessors, so you are going to be in charge of small groups of people, and they will be looking to you for answers. So we're going to make sure you're kitted up and ready to go with some of those answers to the questions. Essentially, you need to be observing, evaluating and rating their performance on the day. That sounds really serious. It genuinely isn't. This is all about the fun and finding people that are going to fit those roles. And as I said, the process we're going to give you is really simple, and we'll hand it out to you in a moment so you can have a look and grill me about it if you've got any concerns or questions. So essentially you're going to need to make judgments about against a set of criteria. You're going to need to provide evidence where you can, although that will be tricky in the time given. We'll talk a bit more about that as we go along. Rate, as I said, and then linking those rating with your observations and judgments. So, evidence. We need to talk a little bit about what evidence really is, and there are three different types of evidence. Direct evidence, indirect evidence and supplementary evidence. Don't worry about the second two. The one that we're concentrating on is direct evidence, and by that I mean things that you will actually see on the day in the task that's happening right in front of you. It's not a written text. Okay guys, that's sort of 3 minutes I think. So I know I kind of threw you in the deep end a little bit there, but what I'd like to do is sort of throw a couple of questions out, so hopefully you don't mind speaking up in front of each other. So just throw it at me, don't worry about sticking your hands up. If I said, what would make a good team player? So why would you give somebody a 5 for being a team player? What sort of things would you want to see as evidence?
Listen for the people's ideas and point of views and taking them on board.
Okay, that's great. But how would you know they were listening? How would you see that? How would you?
Like people want to make eye contact and look at each other, whereas if you just like sitting there on your phone and not listening, or taking anything on board.
Yeah, perfect. That's excellent. Anyone else? How do you identify a great team player?
I suppose like motivation as well, like maybe if you've got a task and someone's not sure, then maybe say the group like how we get it finished in the time space.
That's great. And actually, that kind of links into the inclusion skill as well. So one of the things you might be looking for when it comes to inclusion, sorry, the camera, I think
It's okay, that's fine, I'm moving.
Is that if there's somebody who sort of doesn't look like they're feeling comfortable, but then someone else recognises that and then brings them in. Now that is obviously great inclusion. So those are the sorts of things you're going to be wanting to look for. Communication might sound really easy to observe and to find evidence for, but sometimes it can be a bit tricky. Often what you'll think immediately is, oh, that person's a great communicator, but within a couple of minutes you might see them talking over other people. That's not great communication, because their messages, they're talking, they're pushing other people's messages, they're not being a great team player. So just start to have a think about what these competencies look like. When we do the task, it's useful to try and remember these competencies whilst you're doing what we're going to ask you to do. It's going to be quite noisy. I promise you there'll be a few bangs, but I'll explain that in a minute. But whilst you're doing it, just think about what you might be, how you're acting in the group, how other people are acting in the group, how you're using your listening skills. Is there someone who isn't quite being as involved as you'd like them to be? Just think about it as a facilitator, but doing the task. Okay, any questions questions about the ratings? No? Okay. So, in terms of doing your evidence and having lots of things to remember, it's going to be a very quick process. We've only got these guys for a space of an hour and a half, an hour. You don't have a lot of space. You'll see on the sheet. This is what you'll be using. There's not a lot of space. So what you're looking for are those real key points, those things that are going to really tell us whether this person is going to be a fantastic cricketer on the day and will, be right in the thick of it if they need to, or completely into the accreditation or the media side of stuff, that they get what's going on, they get what it is to be a cricketer. And that will come alive through the process when you're coming along to assist, when you're coming along to facilitate. But as I say, there's not a lot of room, so key points, and don't worry about writing too much. Just listen, watch, observe, and then give a rating that you feel is fair. So, where are we? What to do? Things to remember. I'm going to go straight to this. So, phones, this is an absolute must. I can't emphasise it enough. Your phones need to be off and away. Your concentration needs to be absolutely on the process. So we don't expect to see any phones out. We need you to be quiet yourself as a facilitator. As I said, your listening skills are hugely important. So you've got to be quiet and observe everything that you see. There might be times where you have to talk to the other facilitator. That will happen. Or a candidate asks you a question. That's fine, of course, but just keep it quiet and concentrate on what's going on around you. When the task starts, as a facilitator, it's really important because you can get quite caught up in the process. It's quite important to write down the start time and the finish time because you will get asked. And if you've got it as a reference point, it's there. You don't have to be, well, where do I put my phone or where's my watch or whatever. It's literally just there in front of you. You know how long their candidates have got to go. We're going to keep the notes as a reference. So everything you write down, we may refer to if necessary. So be polite. Be fair and just be consistent in what you're doing. We're not looking for absolute, we're not looking for it to be absolutely correct. We can't, and we've got so many people involved. But just, if you can remember those three things, be polite, be fair, and be consistent, and we're absolutely on the right track. Great. Let's have a look. So, these things are definitely going to happen to you at some point. Someone's going to need the loo. And it'll be right in the middle of something that you're doing, and it'll be a pain, but it's going to happen. So these are volunteer interviews. We're not interviewing people for high-flying jobs in the city that we're going to need to keep in a room for hours on end. They're interviews for volunteers. We want them to enjoy the day. If they need to go to the loo, let them go to the loo. It's fine. If you see somebody bringing out their phone, my recommendation to you would be very quietly to just say, is everything okay? Do you still want to be part of the process? Or, because actually if they've got an emergency at home, fine, they need to deal with it, whatever it is. It's not the end of the world, but it's worth just checking if there's a problem and whether they still want to be involved. As I said, there's going to be a time check, and there's probably along the way going to be somebody who has to do time check almost every minute. You'll find it will happen, promise you. So that's why it's really important for you to be clear on where you are with timings. There will be, most likely, Ali running the overall task. So if you get a bit lost in it and you don't get your times, there'll always be someone to refer to, so don't worry about that. You will also probably get asked for clarity on the task that they are undertaking. Now this is probably the trickiest one, because what you don't want to do is give them misinformation that takes them on a different route to, say, another group. You'll be given a set of facilitators' notes, so you'll know what the task is. You'll hear the introduction to the task. So just stick to what's in the notes. Try your hardest not to make assumptions on what should or could or might be happening. So just stick to those points on there. And the other thing is, and you'll understand this within the next 10 to 15 minutes, but someone will want more resources. They'll want more of something that we can't give them. That isn't fair, because other groups won't have it. So you're just going to have to say no. So you've got to work with what you've got. Okay? Any questions on anything that I've said at all?
We could tie everything to a chair and just lift the chair.
We are the resources. You got another set?
We haven't got much brains here at that. Bloody hell. She's brawn, no brains.
We're the resources as you yourself.
Too far outside the box. Too far out. They're going to be nothing.
Do you need a string to tie the balloon, or can you tie it yourself? I can tie it myself. Oh my god, I can't even throw this balloon up. Do they all have to be like the same size? Can I be too far? Does she have to get off the ground?
This is what you pay your tuition fee for, Holly.
So no part of your body, whether it be...
Oh, put it on! Put it on here! Here! Here!
Five, four, three, two, 1. 30 seconds has started.
Awesome.
Oh my god, you did it!
Good viewing, Holly. It's good. Successful. That's 30 seconds.
Feet up, feet up.
Oh, sorry.
Feet on there.
Have a bit of
Abstract. Weird. It's comfy as well. That would have worked. What happened to you? Have a drink in there, yeah. I'm sorry, but if we don't...
Take a seat, don't worry about it.
I've already got one.
Get everybody leadership potential. People that show that they can corral people, get people going, and keep people excited about the task. Because we need team managers. Out of these volunteer crews, some of them are going to be team managers. So you'll see on the form there's a leadership potential skill. We don't need you to score it or rate it. Just a big tick if you think somebody has a bit of a spark that you can imagine them managing a team on a day of the event. So you probably spotted a few along the way. I saw a few in the room. And just if you, whilst you have when you get a chance later, just have a little reflect about the task itself and the things that you noticed in your own group. One other point. Names of candidates. When you get into your groups that you're going to be facilitating, every candidate will have a name badge on. You're going to have to write down their names. That's your absolutely fundamental first task. Write down their names so that you can then start scoring them after that. Then the sheets we give you won't have the names on them. That's going to be your task to do. Okay, any questions? Everyone happy? Good to go? Take the balloons with you if you wish. Yeah, go ahead.
What would you recommend wearing for the day of the...
Yeah, just something comfortable, so pretty much like what you're wearing now. We're going to supply you with polo shirts, so we look together as one team. So very much just sort of smart casual, sort of on your bottoms as well. So thanks for that. Certainly, what we want to do is engage you right the way through the whole process, and you've got a real good opportunity to not only help us, but also help yourselves. It looks great on your CV to do something to support the trophy and the Women's World Cup in the recruitment. But also, should you wish to then become and want to be a cricketer at the tournament, during the tournament, which takes place, the men is in June and the women is in sort of late June, early July, we'd very much want to have you on board as well. So I know the applications is closed, but what we're doing, we're working with you guys and Ian from the university to bring you on board at a later stage, should you wish to as well. Are there any questions generally? General questions at all?
can I just ask, on the day, how many rounds of people are we likely to be assessing?
Yeah, so there'll be a minimum of 4, and then it can be up to 6 or 7 depending on the actual days, because we've got some weekends and some weekdays as well. Lords, London.